So here we are seeing David suffering. He's suffering great anguish, pain, lamentation, woe. It's one thing when you're suffering physical pain. It might be your hands, your joints, your fingers, different areas of your body. But for him here in the Psalms in particular, he was going through emotional pain, emotional anguish, suffering. He said that, his friends were aloof. There was no friend around. And sometimes when you're going through something, it's the time when you lose friends. Sometimes it's when you hit rock bottom that you know the people who are truly there for you. When everything is going right, sometimes you cannot get a break. You cannot cut a break. The phone rings constantly. There's always somebody knocking at your door. There's always somebody coming for you to render them help or some form of assistance. But should the rubber ever hit the road, that's where you know who your true friends are. That's when you know who is really in your circle. That's when you know who is really and truly there for you and for your family, and not for what you can do for them. So he found himself in a particular situation here. There was no friend. He says, not even his lovers. My God, he was alone. He had no help. He had no support. He had no strength. Who else did we see like this in the scriptures? We saw again when Job was going through his suffering, that my God, his wife, he said that his breath stink to his wife, to his children. There was no support, my God. He lost the support of his wife. He lost his children. Sometimes you're going through a lot, and even the person that's closest to you do not understand. Sometimes they become impatient. And I listen to people all the time, and they talk about Job's wife, for instance, and sometimes they will bash her because she said, and of course it's not a good statement by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, my God. And we see the man of God rebuking her sharp for her words to him while he was in suffering. But should you put yourself in his wife's position for a minute, would you have stuck it out? Would you have been there for him through thick and thin? My God, when he could not do anything for you while worm was destroying his body. So here he found himself in a very terrible, in a very bad situation. And at that point, he found the person closest to him. My God, when his faith was tested, in a post to be there to encourage and strengthen his faith, her faith too was weak. Sometimes we are tested in this manner. When we're going through a hard time, when we're going through difficult times, it might be sickness, it might be the loss of a job, it might be the loss of your children or a close family member or loved one. I don't know what your test is today, because we're tested in different ways. Somebody might have lost their husband, their spouse. That's the greatest support you could have, or the person that's closest to you, and you might be going through a period of grief right now. Somebody might be going through grief because they have lost a job or lost a child. I don't know what it is. It could be your health that you're battling with. You might be, my God, surrounded by enemies like David here. The word of God says he was penitent. He was broken. Sometimes there is a blessing in disguise in these kind of moments, in these times when we're alone and we learn truly that Jesus is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. We learn in those moments that we can turn to God for anything and at any time. We learn in those times the people who are dearest to us, because sometimes it takes us falling and being in a fallen state, my God, to really know and to really cherish and value our relationship, not just with our families, but with God. In those times when we lie in our bed and the tears roll down our eyes or our cheeks, and sometimes the tears are not physically rolling, but they're rolling in our hearts, like we see the man of God here. He was broken. He said he was sore broken. He was feeble. This is not the strong fighter that we're accustomed to seeing in the scriptures. This is not the man who is standing up against Goliath, my God, and cutting off his head. This man is now broken. He is weak. He is alone. My God, he's feeling feeble, let me tell you, might be that superhero hero all the time in your ministry, to your family, to your friends. But sometimes the superhero needs support. And here we see David, the man of God, the warrior, the leader that we're accustomed to. My God, and one of the reasons I truly love David is because he was so expressive. If he was happy, he expressed it. If he was sad, he would express it. You would always get the chance to know exactly what he was going through. If he was, happy, we saw him worship, we saw him dance. My God, we saw him play the instruments. So we are always on the journey with him as he expresses his different emotions. And here the man of God is broken. He says there is no soundness. My God, and I'm going through Psalms 38. He says, I am troubled. You might be like David today. You might be feeling troubled. You might be feeling worried. You might be in distress. You might be experiencing anxiety. You might be experiencing emotional pain. You might be going through a very turbulent time in your life. But I want to remind you today that God is God, that he has never lost a battle. I want to remind you that God is there for you. And when we look as he continued in the verse, it's as if he built up courage and some hope. It's as though he was reminded of who is God is. He says, for in thee, O Lord, do I put my hope. My hope is in you. My confidence is in you. My trust is in you. You are indeed my friend. You are my lover. You are my everything. When there is no one there for me, when there is no one around me, when there is no one else to turn to, I turn to you, God, because you are indeed my God. You are my strength. You are my king. You are my friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Today, I just want to remind you that he is. He is your refuge and strength. He is my refuge and strength, a very present help in the time of trouble. You might be experiencing trouble today in your financial matters, in your family matters, on your job, in your health. But he is indeed your refuge and strength. He is still a very present help in the time of trouble. Put your trust in him. Put your trust in him, and he will take care of you.